There is a secret weapon that I've discovered after interviewing a few dozen Decamillionaires. They all said the same exact thing when I asked them a question. The question was this: how did you define your purpose? How did you discover your calling? And I would not have expected this secret weapon to be so prevalent. But now, after interviewing dozens, almost every single Decamillionaire answered the question the exact same way. What's surprising to me is they didn't say spreadsheets. They didn't say masterminds. They said, every one of them said, quiet time. Quiet time? Silence, solitude, stillness. Because for years, friends, I felt the exact same thing, but I never heard it said out loud of what I was experiencing. Whenever I'm approached in my own business with something that I need to think about, I get quiet. I get still. You often hear me say, I go hunting. And that seems like it's ultra sexy, but ultimately it's just going and sitting in the woods, watching. No cell phone, typically no one else, just listening to my thoughts. Some days I've climbed up in a tree stand at 6 a.m., literally sat on the side of a tree all day long with nothing except for my Little Debbie cakes, my coffee, and a sandwich, and sit there all day long and just enjoy God's creation. Friends, today I want to talk about why quiet time may be the most underused, undervalued tool in your entire business and life strategy. And I want to walk through this from a biblical perspective, the scientific proof that goes with it, and then show you how to actually achieve quiet time, practically and tangibly. Because if you're a business owner and you're feeling foggy, confused, maybe you're reacting all the time, you probably don't need more effort. You probably need more silence. So let's be real. Business owners are overstimulated. That's an understatement. We are under-reflective. We wake up going, man. We work day in, day out. We fall asleep exhausted, and we do it again and again and again. No margin, no breathing room, just motion. And when you live like this for years, it actually becomes hard to hear yourself think. You don't make bold decisions. You make fast ones. I often view quiet time in my adolescence and in my early years of business as being lazy. It's not. It's leadership. You don't gain clarity when the noise gets louder. You gain clarity when you get quiet. I mentioned that I want to talk to you from a biblical foundation because my faith and everything I believe comes from Scripture. It's interesting that Jesus himself withdrew himself into a solitary place. Even when the crowds were chasing him, especially then he left, but he got to a solitary place. See that in Luke chapter 5. Elijah, he did not hear God in the fire, in the wind, in the earthquake. It was in a still small voice. In fact, one of my favorite verses of Scripture, Psalms 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." He didn't say work harder and hope for the best. He says, be still. One of my favorite stories in all of Scripture is when Moses is leading the children of Israel out of Egypt, and the Egyptian army is behind him, and they come to the Red Sea, and they have these two mountains on both sides, and they're basically pinned in. Moses says, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And so the Israelites got quiet and they just stood there. The Egyptian army is coming on their backs. I'm about to come in and slaughter them all, according to Pharaoh. They're about to slaughter them all, but instead, God works a miracle. If you've seen the movie, The Red Sea, Charlton Heston does a great picture of it. He walks across on dry land. So he says, stand still, and then whenever God shows them the way, they move forward. The reality is that oftentimes we're too busy. And friends, God, he's not going to shout clarity over our busy schedules. So that's the biblical aspect. Let's flip it to science. Like Justin, I'm not much of a Bible person. That's fine. That's fine. Let's look at science. When we look at science, there's a thing called the default mode network. You may have heard it called the DMN. When you're not actively doing something, you're quiet, and that's when the default mode network kicks in. Researchers at Washington University found that when we get quiet, this is where self-awareness, future planning, moral reflection, and creativity happens. Have you ever had a breakthrough idea in the shower? Or maybe you're on a long walk in the woods like I do. That is the default mode network kicking in. Whenever you get still, your brain starts working and starts planning for your future and allowing creativity to work. In 2013, a study from Duke University said that 2 hours of silence per day led to new brain cell growth on the hippocampus. Okay, that area is responsible for learning, for memory, and for emotional processing. So silence doesn't just calm you, it actually makes your brain stronger. That's crazy. If you look at the deep work research done by Cal Newport, he did some study and he says that undistracted work is a superpower in our economy. But you can't get there if your mind is never quiet. If your brain is addicted to constant input, constant stimuli, then you're never going to access the output that your brain is capable of producing. The frontiers in psychology and brain science found that 10 minutes of silence can boost memory and emotional clarity. Just 10 minutes. But here's where it gets interesting. Long-form solitude compounds clarity. There's research on silent meditation, like meditation retreats. Some might say like monks would do as they practice solitude, and even multi-day forest breathing. Yes, it's a real thing that happens in Japan. What it shows is that sustained solitude boosts emotional regulation, decision-making, and life satisfaction for the long term. Here's the simplification. The more you disconnect from noise, the more your brain reconnects the dots. Yes, 10 minutes of silence is good, but man, I gotta tell you, a day in the woods, a weekend off grid, it is amazing. But so is a long weekend with your mate off site with no outside interaction. That's where clarity lives. And friends, I personally lived this truth. One of my favorite places of all times to go is the woods. I love the woods, especially during hunting season. I'm not there all the time to harvest something, but I'm there to think. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, we were recording this conversation 2 weeks ago, my team who knows me very well, they said, hey, Justin, your next 6 weeks is heavy output. We're going to recommend you go out of town and you shut your life down for 3 days. Because they've seen it that if I get just quiet for a little bit, for 2-3 days, just give myself a chance to think, then man, I can come back and I can produce at a high level, at my highest capable level. So where is your place? For me, it's a tree stand. For at home, if I'm at home, I like the hot tub. In fact, Emily teased me. She said, Justin, I'm gonna start taking videos for your followers so they can see you in the hot tub, literally sitting there for an hour, 2 every day, just taking notes, talking to yourself. What I'm doing is thinking. She laughs about it. Sometimes it's me sitting at the piano. My wife, her place is sitting on the back porch or walking out to her chickens. It's quiet, and that's her place because stillness anchors us. So now that I've gone through the scientific and the biblical, you're saying, okay, Justin, what in the world? Who needs solitude? Every business owner who feels overworked, reactive, confused, lack of clarity. May I challenge you? Just take some time. Take a day. Shut everything off. Get quiet. Go by yourself. Go rent a hotel room and do nothing. Just sit there. It's uncomfortable, but it works. Go do like I do, sit in the woods. Go for a long walk. Take a 10-mile hike through the woods and just do nothing. Don't talk to anybody. No inputs, no distractions. So what is solitude? Solitude is intentional silence. No inputs, no phones, no radios, no distractions, no plan. Just stillness, listening, and reflecting. When should you do this? Daily, I believe you should have 10 to 30 minutes a day with just real quiet. I think that's my meditation time. I do this when I read scriptures and I shut my Bible down and I just sit there and I think about the scriptures, think about how to apply it, think about friends. I pray for my friends, pray for our clients, pray for my family. I'm just quiet, 10, 20 minutes a day. Weekly, find an hour or 2 hour window. I like on Friday afternoons or Sunday afternoons, whenever Emily and I will literally just sit on the back deck and just talk. No, just quiet. No really agenda, just being with each other. Quarterly, take a full day off. Every quarter, take a full day off and go somewhere. And then annually, schedule yourself a 2 or 3 day retreat. Just you, God, and your thoughts. This is literally why I love hunting and fishing so much. I can get away from everything and I can get out in the woods and I can literally, even with a guide, we're not talking. We're walking and I'm looking, I'm observing, and less than 10 words are said usually in a day's time. So when should you do it? Daily, weekly, quarterly, and annually? Yes. Where should you go to get quiet? Friends, it can be wherever you desire. It could be sitting at a piano like I do. It could be riding in a truck, a long ride through the countryside with the windows down. Wherever you're not being bombarded with content, that's where you should go. Maybe it is the bathtub. Maybe it's the shower. Maybe it's the gym. I don't know where your area is, but find somewhere that you can get away from the noise on a daily, weekly, quarterly, and annual basis. Why? Why is this important? Because clarity doesn't come from doing more. It comes whenever we quit talking and we listen. It comes when we reflect. And this is the secret weapon that I see Decamillionaires are using. And I never dreamt that so many other Decamillionaires would bring this exact statement up when I'm asking where to get clarity. Reflection, quiet time, quiet time, quiet time. Dozens have said it. You go back and listen to the episodes. So here's the process that I personally have utilized to get quiet and reflect is I schedule it like revenue. I call it clarity time. I literally put on my calendar and it's not negotiable. Justin's out. He's out. Don't ask him questions. If I don't schedule my calendar, the world will. Clients are going to need me. Family's going to need me. Friends are going to need me. And I want to serve everybody to the fullest potential, but I have to take care of my mind first. So I schedule it like I do with revenue. I make sure it's on the calendar. My second step is I'm going to eliminate all inputs. No cell phone, no computer, no music, no noise, quiet. And it feels uncomfortable. That's the point. We never do it. Trust me, just stay with it. You're going to use some reflection prompt. So as you're thinking, you're going to ask some questions. And you may write these on a note card. What's not working that I pretended is fine? What do I need to surrender right now? What am I holding on to that's holding me back that I need to let go? Where am I out of alignment in my life from where I am with my values? Where are my values out of alignment? What might God be trying to say to me that I'm too busy to hear? What's my vision? Let me get quiet. Let me think about this. Is it possible? Do I firmly believe it? Now, one of the pro tips is if you can anchor to something you already enjoy. So I like the hot tub. I like water. So for me to sit in the hot tub and have my prompts and think, that's natural for me. For me to sit on the porch and watch the critters run around the house and watch the dogs play with the balls, that's natural. A morning coffee, when I grab my coffee and I take a walk through the woods, that's natural to me. What about you? Where can you go that's quiet, that can turn to become something you look forward to? I have a friend of mine that I've been coaching years. He's already experienced an 8-figure exit, and he's talked about it openly on the podcast and various things. But one of the things I was challenging with is I said, why don't you take a sabbatical? You're floundering, you're struggling with this. Why don't you take a sabbatical? And he did. It took 6 weeks. And I didn't call him. He turned his phone off for 4 weeks. And I texted him on the 5th week. I said, how's it going? He said, I needed 2 more weeks. Great, man. He had turned his phone back on, but he sat there for 4 weeks. He went to overseas to a different part of the world and just lived. Watched a little bit of TV at night, just totally got out of disconnected. You know what he said to me the other day as we were talking? He said, Justin, I'm clearer now than I've ever been. It is deafening how clear it is. I can see it. I know the answers to it. I was like, man, unload on me. Let me know. And what he said is that the longer the silence, the louder the clarity, good Brad. The longer I sat here, at first it was uneasy, and then I got clear. Friends, may I challenge you on something? The most expensive decisions you're ever going to make as a business owner are the ones you make in haste, through hurry. If you want better answers, you got to ask better questions. If you want better questions, you've got to make space to listen. Decamillionaires have figured out this superpower. Get quiet. Silence is your friend. Busyness builds ego. Silence builds wisdom. They understand these things, friends. And so you've got everything you need right now to succeed. Your wildest dreams can come true, but you're going to have to turn down the volume to hear it. So here's a challenge for you. Can you block 30 minutes off this week? Just you. No phones, no task, just open space. And when the discomfort hits, and it will, stay there. Don't quit. Because on the other side of silence is clarity. And on the other side of clarity is purpose. And on the other side of purpose, friends, that's the life you were made and designed for. That's what we're after. But it's not going to come until you gain clarity. And clarity doesn't come without silence. Hope this helps you. We'll talk to you next week.